Hi, everyone. So today we're going to be going over the exam 2 Muddiest points. These are questions that were asked in the Muddiest points survey that was posted on Ed Discussion. And so just a quick outline of what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about when to use the z-test and the t-test. We're going to go over some calculator help to find the p-value. We're going to go into rejecting versus failing to reject the null hypothesis. And then we're going to go into some questions regarding finding the beta value. So first, when do we use the t-test? We want to use the t-test when we're doing a confidence interval on the mean and the variance is unknown. So just a quick reminder that the mean is signified by mu and the variance is unknown, so we don't know sigma. And then we also want to use the t-test when we're doing a hypothesis test on the mean and the population variance is unknown, which is same thing, the sigma. And then going into the t-test, we want to use the t-test when we're finding confidence intervals on the mean. This can be two-sided or one-sided along with the t-test. And just a quick reminder again, this is mu and the variance is known. So sigma will equal some number. We also want to use this when finding confidence intervals on a proportion. So remember that's signified by p. And then we want to also use the z-test when we're doing a hypothesis test on the mean and the population variance is known. And then that's going to equal some value. So how do we know if we know the variance or if we don't? So in some of the problems, the sample variance will be given instead of the standard deviation. So you might see something like sigma squared equals a number or sigma equals a number or s equals a number, or you might just be given a word problem. So when you're determining if you're going to use the z-test or the t-test, you need to look at the population variance. So if you're given sigma or sigma squared in the problem, then you'll know you want to use the z-test. But if you're not given that, you want to use the t-test. And a good example of this is homework 14, question 11. It states in the problem that you are given a standard deviation, but if you look in the context of the problem, you're actually given the sample standard deviation. So I would recommend that everyone go back and kind of review what sample standard deviation is, or even sample variance versus population variance. So go back to the previous chapters and kind of review that for the exam, because that'll really help you when determining when to use the z-test or the t-test. And then this wasn't asked in the Muddiest Point survey, but just kind of wrapping up the different distributions. You want to use the chi-squared distribution when you're conducting confidence intervals on the variance. So same thing, and the standard deviation, so sigma squared and sigma. And then you would want to use the chi-squared distribution when you're doing a hypothesis test on the population variance. So same thing, you're doing a hypothesis test on sigma squared. And then going into how we find the p-values, they're most of the time they're given to you in the calculator. And so when you're doing the t-test, so for example, if you're doing a hypothesis test, when you don't know the variance. So this is hypothesis test. Then you would run the t-test in your calculator, and then you're just looking for this p-value right here. So that's your answer. So when you're conducting your fail to reject versus reject, trying to determine that with your hypothesis test, you'll know to look at this p-value. And then same thing, this is just an example of when you're doing the z-test on the population proportion. This p-value is given to you right here. Don't get it confused with this p-value right here, because that is the proportion value that you give. And then this is what you're looking for. And then just quickly, this wasn't asked either, but you want to use the chi-squared CDF function in your calculator to find the p-value when you're using the chi-squared distribution. And then going into fail to reject versus reject. So you want to use the charts given to you in the notes for the hypothesis test for specifics and kind of to see other ways to reject using the test statistic. But the easiest way is using the p-value we just found from our calculator. And then what you really need to know is that you're going to reject if the p-value is less than your alpha, and then you're going to fail to reject if your p-value is greater than alpha. So most of the time alpha will be given to you in the problem. So you really just need to compare the p-value given and see if it's less than or greater than. And then our final slide for today is computing beta and power. Specifically in the Muddiest Point survey, a student asked if there's an easier way to calculate this. Unfortunately, there isn't. You can use part of it in your calculator, but this kind of formula right here, you're gonna have to calculate by hand. Usually in these types of problems, from what I've seen, most of the information will be given to you. So it really is just kind of plugging and chugging. So it shouldn't be that difficult, but you want to remember to use the normal CDF function in the calculator when you're finding this value. And then that'll make your life a lot easier rather than looking it up in the chart. But other than that, if you guys have any more questions or you want me to go into further detail of anything or go over homework problems, my office hours are going to be on Thursday. Not sure what the date is for that. They'll be on Thursday from 12 to 1. And that's going to be the 17th. Or you can always email me and set up an appointment any day. Good luck on your exam and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.